they actually, I had five doctors yelling at me saying, because my record said I had diabetes and they had checked and I didn't have diabetes. They're like, that's impossible. You can't cure diabetes.
Keith, how did you find carnivore?
Well, Dave, it's a really long story, but I'll try to make it short. Uh, I was just like everybody else, eating the standard American diet. About 35. I was actually really, really small most of my life till I turned about 35. I had a third shift job and sat in an office a lot and ate a lot of Pop Tarts, and I just started getting fat, and I dealt with that. That was all right. I was fat. Then once I turned about 50 years old, I started having bigger problems, way bigger problems. At 51, I had a major stroke. I actually had two strokes at one time, and it killed me. I died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, and that's when I started seeing doctors. After that, found out I had diabetes, uh, and they put me on meds. And of course, every time you went, there was another pill they'd give you, and every time they'd give you a pill, you felt worse. They said you were getting better, but you was feeling worse. And I eventually got skin psoriasis and I got arthritis really bad. I got to a point where I could barely walk. And I'm sitting and watching the internet because that's all I can do at that point. Then I came across Jordan Peterson on some interview, and I always respected Jordan Peterson because he's a guy that doesn't tell a lie. He never lies. And I find that incredible. I want to be like that. So, trying to learn. And he mentioned that he was eating nothing but steak and drinking water. And looked at him, checked out his past, and saw it really helped him. And then I found Michaela, his daughter, and started watching her videos. And I thought, man, I got to do that. So I went on carnivore for 2 months. I lost a whole bunch of weight. I was losing 4.5 pounds a day for a long time. And I felt a lot better. Was stayed on carnivore for a year, lost right around 50 pounds. And Thanksgiving, I went off carnivore and I couldn't get back on it. I was craving those carbs. It was going crazy. And I was eating them every day. And you know what happened? I had another stroke. So after that stroke, I actually was in the hospital and they were checking me out and they're like, they weren't even sure it was a stroke because there was no damage in my brain or nothing at that point. It was a tiny stroke. It was bad enough I went to the hospital. And they actually, I had five doctors yelling at me saying, because my record said I had diabetes and they had checked and I didn't have diabetes. They're like, that's impossible. You can't cure diabetes. And I'm like, well, you're the ones with the reports. You tell me. They spent a day feeding me every hour and testing my blood sugar. Could not get it to spike above normal. They were so mad it was funny. Then they found out I cured my own diabetes and I cured the skin psoriasis. And I mean to tell you, they were fit to be tied. But anyways, I knew at that point I need to get back on the carnivore diet because it was those carbs that almost killed me twice. And that's what I did. I've been on the carnivore for about a year since then, a year and 2 months. And I've lost 80 pounds. I've still got more to lose. I want to bulk up some muscle, so the losing's going a lot slower now. But you know how it works. That's my story.
Wow, what a story. Um, and so just tell me again, about 1 year and 2 months, did you say?
About 1 year and 2 months eating nothing but Pop Tarts. I'm kidding you,
So,
Dave. I
so,
do make a mistake. Actually, about once a week, I'll make some stupid, small mistake, nothing big, but I'll do something dumb. I'll see a Kit Kat bar in the store and buy it and eat it, you know. I mean, I am
and
far from perfect, and you can see I got a long way to go. I mean, I was pretty ugly. And now I'm so handsome. I mean, every pretty woman. Well, I'm hiding from them. I got my doors locked and everything. It's crazy. They're all wanting to kiss me and stuff, Dave. But I don't know what to do.
So when you have those kind of moments where you have that, like, have the Kit Kat or whatever, how does that make you feel? Like, does that affect your, does any problems come back, like arthritis or anything?
Oh yeah. No, no, they are. Nothing comes back as far as my problems. The thing that comes back is I will have to struggle for 2 to 3 days to try to not do it again, to not go back. And as soon as I do that, I'll want something like stuff I didn't even like before. Like I didn't like donuts, and now I crave them. I didn't like potato chips, and now I crave them. And it's after I eat that Kit Kat or that Mounds bar. The thing is, I make that little mistake, and then I know that I got 2 to 3 days of struggle, and I will have to go through that struggle, or I will mess up. And I know if I continue to mess up, it's going to kill me. That's all there is to it. So I have to do the struggle, get back on the carnivore, get healthy, and feel better. The only thing I really notice is I'll bloat up and my stomach will feel really heavy. And the funny thing is, halfway through the candy bar, I'm always going, man, this ain't near as good as I remember. And, so you're like ashamed of yourself for messing up and you're disappointed because the thing doesn't really taste that good. You can, after you're on carnivore long enough, you can tell there's chemicals in it. You can taste chemicals, and that's what it tastes like. But you got these childhood memories of how good those candy bars were. It's kind of crazy, kind of stupid, but that's what it's like to be addicted to something. And I'm a carb addict.
Mm.
An ex one. I like to say a recovering carb addict.
Yeah, nice. Um, when you had the last stroke, did they check anything? Like, did they
Yeah, yeah.
check, like, what was
They
the
checked
primary
my
cause? Like,
veins.
is there a blockage or something?
That's what they were looking for, checking my veins and arteries for like a blockage or whatever. And they actually said my veins were like a 15-year-old kid's. They were that clean. They assumed I had a truck wreck. I flipped my pickup truck, like 3 times on the highway. I had a guitar. I'm a guitar player. Had a guitar in the truck with me, and it was flying around in the cab. I did not have my seatbelt on. I hit the windshield twice, didn't go through it, but it stopped me. But only because I was big enough to not bust it, completely. But it beat me up bad. And they think that what happened was I must have had some internal bleeding and a clot. And at some point it broke loose and made it to my brain. That's what they think. But I don't know if that's the case or not. That's all assumptions because there was no evidence of what happened. And when they tested me, even though I'd screwed up and I was eating stuff I shouldn't be eating for probably a month, there was no evidence of an actual stroke happening, except for when I went in. One side of my face was drooping, and they actually argued for about a half hour when I went to the emergency room whether I had a stroke or Bell's palsy, and they decided it was a stroke, but they did a CAT scan, did everything. There was absolutely no damage, no evidence of a stroke, and I actually left the next day. Left the hospital the next day fine. A little bit of drooling.
Wow.
My hair is coming
So
back. My hairline
yeah,
used to be down here, and it's slowly coming up.
right.
It's weird.
So that's what I was going to ask. Like, so your hair's coming back. What else has changed for you in the last just over a year?
I don't have arthritis anymore. Don't have skin psoriasis. Don't have diabetes. Lost 80 pounds, almost exactly 80 pounds to this day. Uh, I can move. I could barely move before. I can run up and down steps, and I won't say that I have. Everybody says they have a lot of energy. I don't have a lot of energy, but I don't have ups and downs, so I never crash, and I like that. It's like it's a steady energy. You have it all the time, the same energy. And the greatest thing is when I'm walking, every now and then I don't think about it all the time, but every now and then I realize, man, it's like I'm walking on a cloud. It's like you're not even touching the ground. It's because I mean, imagine you're carrying an 80-pound bag of potatoes around with you all the time. That's what it was for me for years. And now, I mean, within a couple of months, they're gone. You know.
When you look at how much weight you've lost, if you were carrying a sack with of that weight or a box with that weight, it would you'd just be so tired all the time, right?
I was. Just terrible tired. I was exhausted and sick, and it was terrible. The funny thing is, I tell everybody about it. This how great this is, and they act like they don't believe you. You know, I actually have a son that said that it was a he says it's a placebo effect. The whole I'm like, okay, I beat diabetes, arthritis, skin psoriasis, lost almost 100 pounds, all from a thought that this stuff that I'm eating, and I'm eating so much that I'm stuffed every day, you know, all from just thinking that that's working. I'm like, well, I'm buying me a rabbit's foot, you know.
Yeah, so there's no one around you that's kind of said, "Oh, this is awesome. You lost so much weight, you don't have any joint pain. I'm gonna try it." No one?
Yeah, there's one guy that I've worked with that just recently, a couple of weeks ago, said, "That's it, I'm going carnivore." And he's doing the same thing I did, getting better, losing weight, having trouble sticking with it. It is hard that first month, you know. It's really hard to just put everything away, which is how I did it. I didn't taper off. I did like all us crazy people. For me, there's a guy named semi-retired Bob. You don't know him, and I've watched him since he started. I actually started before he did, and I found him probably 2, 3 months after I started, and his story kind of similar to mine, but the main thing with him is he's the guy that has helped keep me on track. I found out that if what you have to do is constantly be watching carnivore videos, keeping your mind on it, or before you know it, that addiction will get you. You cannot function on willpower alone. It just won't work. I don't care who you are, what kind of diet you take. That's why all diets start out real well at first, and then you gain a whole bunch of weight back because human willpower is not that strong. It has to be a life change. You have to have somebody to watch, somebody to keep your mind on what you're doing. And for me, it was semi-retired Bob, and then you. Actually, I'm just stoked to be able to actually talk to you. It's friggin' awesome.
Keith, how are you eating day to day?
I 2 meals a day usually. I usually eat a steak. Oh, I don't know, must be 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's my first meal. And then I do the terrible thing. I eat right before bed. I don't go to bed till like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'll eat right before bed. I'm I'm a rock star.
What would you say to someone who has expressed interest in carnivore? Would you tell them to just go cold turkey, or would you advise them something else?
Cold turkey works for me. I guess if you can't go cold turkey, cut down. You know, cut the carbs down. Get rid of the sugar right away. Get rid of all the sugar right away. Seed oils, get rid of those. I wouldn't cut those down. I'd cut them out. But if you have trouble, maybe some artificial sweetener wouldn't hurt you at first. You know, you're still doing a lot better. And cut the carbs down as low as you can. And hopefully, after a little while, you get to feeling better and you get to realizing, hey, if I get rid of this, I'll get a lot better. Hopefully. But you might be stubborn like me and just cut it all out. It's not going to kill you. It's going to be hard. That's all.
For you, this is it. There's no going back.
No, no, I couldn't. If I go back, I think I'll die. Honestly, I think carnivore keeps me alive. and it's returning me to my youth slowly, but it is, you know. I mean, I'm almost 60 years old, and I only look like I'm maybe 80. And but that's way better than I used to look. And I feel a heck of a lot better. There's no way to even explain it.
A lot of people would say that carnivore is a restrictive diet. How do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, I suppose it's restrictive. Yeah, I mean, you're only eating meat, right? Meat and meat products. So I guess you could say that's restrictive. But unlike every other diet I ever tried, you're never hungry. I mean, you're hungry long enough to realize you're hungry. You go get something to eat. You know, get some more meat, and you eat till it's. I say not quite Thanksgiving. You know, stuffed, but not quite as much as Thanksgiving. And then you feel fine, and that's why I get up in the morning. Well, in the morning's afternoon for me, but that's why it's so late when I eat. You know, because I get up and I'm not hungry, not at all, and I eat twice a day. I probably eat about 12 hours apart, I guess, something like that. I don't know. Never really thought about it. That's the whole thing. You can call it a restrictive diet, but when you have a diet that you're not thinking about food because it doesn't control you anymore, you know, it's like you're asking me questions I've never even thought about it. I said I just don't think about food. I get hungry, I
Yeah.
fire up the grill, you know.
It's really nice to be in that situation where you don't have to think about food anymore. You're not tied to the
It's free.
kitchen or you're not tied to the supermarket or the convenience store, right?
That's right. It's total freedom. You have so
Mm.
much time. You can do so many other things. It's like sometimes I'm like, what am I going to do with all this time? You know? Before a carnivore, you spend all your time thinking about eating, either eating or thinking about what you're going to have next, you know, or preparing food, you know, and thinking that you got to do gourmet this and gourmet that, and all you're doing is wasting your time, your money, and making yourself sick, you know.
That's a good point. You're spending your own time and your own money to make yourself sick. It's crazy, right?
It is. It is. It's almost as bad as smoking, you know, which I still do. I have cut it down a lot, but there you go. I went carnivore and I can't quit smoking. So carnivore is obviously way easier. I mean, it is way easier.
Do you have plans? Do you want to quit at some stage?
Yeah, I do. I'm hoping to.
If people want to reach out to you, Keith, is there any way they can get in contact? Do you have any social
Well,
media?
I'm starting a new channel on YouTube called Carnivore Keys. I haven't done anything with it yet, but it is parked there. Yeah.
So I'll link to your new channel below.
Sure.
Thank you
I'm
so
planning
much for
to
coming on.
start
Oh,
using
sorry.
it and, you know, uploading some carnivore stuff. Maybe I'll put a little rock and roll on there for you too.
Awesome. Um, well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Really appreciate your time, Keith.
Thank you, David. It was awesome to get to talk to you.